HarperCollins presents Injury Time, Football in a State of Emergency, written and read by David Goldblatt. Preface. In the last decade, a series of percussive blows has struck the UK. First, following the global economic crisis of 2008, there was a near decade of fiscal austerity which broke what little was left of the social contract and the welfare state, and which, alongside wage stagnation for the majority and the soaring wealth of the 0.1%, left the country at its most unequal since the late 19th century. Second, the Brexit referendum of 2016 saw the departure of the UK from the European Union, and in addition to the massive economic and political dislocations this entailed, unleashed a wave of nativism and racism, poisoning and polarising the character of public debate in the country. Third, the COVID pandemic of 2020 brought normal life to a halt, killed almost 250,000 people, left over 1 million more with long-term health conditions, and sent the nation's mental health and economic prospects, already perilous, into tailspins. Finally, in the wake of the pandemic, Britain was engulfed in a series of interconnecting crises, beginning with Russia's invasion of Ukraine in early 2022, followed by an unprecedented cost of living crisis, a political meltdown that would see off 3 prime ministers in 6 months, and extreme weather which announced that the climate crisis had actually arrived. Intellectuals have struggled to weave together any kind of plausible story that might explain this concatenation of events. Serious contributions have been made to individual strands of our predicament, our imperial amnesia, democratic deficits, and scandalous inequalities. But a popular narrative that describes their intersection has eluded us. The Leave campaign's story was one early attempt to do so, positing the European Union and migrants as the villains of the piece and offering the sunlit uplands of independence as the final chapter. But fantasy will only get you so far. Having presided over a succession of calamities for which it refuses to take responsibility, the Conservative Party has been reduced to inventing conspiracy theories to explain the failures of its term in office. Meanwhile, the Labour Party under Keir Starmer appears to have abandoned storytelling altogether in favour of an almost ideology-free New Labour light. The arts, still capable of commenting on and capturing aspects of this polycrisis, have yet to offer the kind of state-of-the-nation panorama that it deserves. It would be a tall order for any novel or play or film to tell these stories in their interrelated complexity. It is hard to imagine that any single cultural form could narrate this extraordinary turn of events and simultaneously illuminate the deep structures and conflicts that produce them. How much harder would it be to do so in a way that explores the differences between the 4 nations of the UK? It is the contention of this book that football, without ever intending to do so, has offered us precisely that. Football's capacity to illuminate something profound about our whole society is not new. Certainly, in retrospect, if not always at the time, the game has offered a richly detailed tableau of the state of the nation and a popular, comprehensible analogy of its transformations. England 3, Hungary 6 in 1953, the first defeat at home to a foreign power, was a game that prefigured the Suez Crisis and its confirmation of post-imperial decline. Holy of Holies, winning the World Cup in 1966, was the last glorious global moment for the best of industrial England and its post-war consensus. The long era of hooligans, firms, and social disorder gave symbolic form to the sharp conflicts and anger of the 1970s and 80s. The commercial transformation of the game in the 1990s and 2000s has stood as an exemplar of the country's economic globalization and its deepening inequalities, while retaining a romantic relationship to the communitarian and social democratic values of the lost working class.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?